All right, we're good. Everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the Fourth and Long podcast. I'm Justin. This is Jake. How you doing, Jake?
Good. How are you, Justin?
Yeah, you said you were busy today, but before we get into anything, I need everyone to stand up, give a little golf clap for the Big Ten being back.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So we definitely have a lot of stuff to talk about today. I would say it's not as good of a slate for the game as it was last week, but that's also because it was 2 versus 3 kind of, so it was a big weekend. But yeah, so we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna try and keep this as close to an hour as possible, but there is a lot to do. So we will go into the 5 things in 50 seconds, and I'll read them out and tell me what you think. All right. I was talking to Jake before we went live, and I was talking to him about the Big Ten is gonna any cancellations because of COVID. They're going to rule it as a no contest, like a tie. So that just hurts everyone. Also, LSU quarterback TJ Finley will start for LSU, while Miles Brennan is still injured. Also, the Holiday Bowl has been canceled this year because of COVID. We talked about this earlier, but the Texas president affirms that the eyes of Texas will be played. So I guess it's not derogatory or anything like that. And then USC suspended wide receiver Munir McClain amid a possible fraud probe. I don't know how a college player gets in trouble for fraud unless they're like bouncing checks. I don't know, but I mean, anything you guys say on the quick opening for us?
I think the biggest news is that what you said about the division just making those games, if they're postponed because of COVID, just a tie. It doesn't bode well for anyone. At least with what we've been having with the SEC and a little bit of the ACC, is they just push games back. And I know they started late, but you have those 2 weeks before bowl games to reschedule games, and I understand that if it passed like two, that you need to do that, but for some of these big matchups, if we have, I mean, God forbid, if we go into that December 12th matchup between Michigan State and Ohio State, that game gets canceled. I just, I don't, I'm going to be speechless.
It's
It's
like
like it's that game everyone needs.
it's like Army Navy. They just got to play it. I mean,
Exactly.
and them adding this no contest thing is almost like a tie in the NFL. Like how are the playoff, like the people who decide the playoff, how are they going to view a 9-0 or 8-0-1 Ohio State? Like I would assume you assume
They're
they're
not.
undefeated, but I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, especially with all the cancellations we've seen, I mean, it's silly to go along thinking that the Big Ten won't be affected by it. But
Exactly.
they should have started earlier, but that is all. And so now, thanks for the private chat message. Now we're going to head into a little bit of the Big Ten preview. For me, it's a 2-horse race in the East with Ohio State and Penn State, who will play on the 24th or the 31st. Ohio State plays Nebraska this weekend, but in the East, it's a 2-man race. And I think the biggest question in the Big Ten this year is, can anyone beat Wisconsin in the West and to get to the Big Ten championship game? Wisconsin has been a stalwart there pretty much every year. It's usually been Iowa or Wisconsin, but I think Minnesota can do it this year. PJ Fleck, he's just going to keep rowing the damn boat, and hopefully that works out for them. But like I said, I think it's a pretty good year for the Big Ten. Obviously, Penn State losing Micah Parsons was, I didn't know about it until a couple weeks ago. So that changes everything. And the other thing the Big Ten is doing, so they'll play 8 regular season games, and then that 9th week will be the Big Ten championship. But it's called the Champions Week. They will also like the 1 seed in the East and the 1 seed in the West will play for the Big Ten championship. 2 will play 2 East and the West, and 3 and 3, kind of that. I don't know. Urban Meyer said it's creative and different. I don't know if you're not going to make the playoffs, and depending on what happens with the bowls, is it really worth it to play that extra week? But I mean, you got anything going for me?
No. Again, I think it's going to be interesting to see if one of these games is canceled or gets, they have that null and void. How that's going to play into effect. How is say if Nebraska goes up against a team and that other team has COVID cases in back-to-back weeks. What is that going to do for these guys who are supposed to be in full gear going forward and not really have like an off week? What's going to happen if they have 2 off weeks and then, they come into that third game and they're scared? Say if they go 3-0-2 and they go into that third game and a couple hours beforehand, it's just like one of their players goes down with it or another team. It just, for these teams that are really trying to make a push for a champion, like a bowl game, it's just, how is that going to affect their mindset? If
Yeah,
that happens.
I wonder if because I don't think Michigan's gonna be very good this year. Wonder if Michigan would get like a 3 or 4 seed if they'd even bother to play that week and say just buy me. But the other big thing I'm taking from the Big Ten is Ohio State going to be on Clemson and Alabama's level. We've pretty much seen it so far that excuse me. Um, no one is. It's Clemson, Alabama, and then basically maybe 3 or 4 teams, and then it's a drop off. So, I mean, with Ohio State returning Fields, obviously, Urban Meyer, Ohio State coach, but now works for Fox. He said that Justin Fields is like a mixture of Dwayne Haskins' arm and Braxton Miller's legs, and to me that sounds pretty lethal. But yeah, I think Fields. I think it's going to end up being 3 people in New York at the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if, because of the short schedule, the Big Ten kind of gets pushed out. But
Yeah.
I think Fields is going to go up for it. He returns after throwing 47 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions last year. But one of those interceptions was a misread in the semifinal game versus Clemson. I was actually watching that today. Did you know last year that Ohio State was up 16-0 on Clemson at some point?
Yeah. No, I remember that.
I completely forgot about it. I know they went up and then they just lost it, but I completely forgot about that. But so you have that, and I mean the offense is going to be deadly no matter what. I mean they got returning receivers Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, not to mention 2 5-star receivers that came in, and a big addition will probably be Trey Sermon, who transferred from Oklahoma. He should split carries with Master Teague, who basically is like the bigger bruiser in the running game, kind of like Thunder and Lightning. But geez, what's wrong with me? But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, the defense has had to replace, Chase Young, Nick Bosa in like consecutive years, and this might be one of the years that their defensive line isn't as lethal as it can be. But they return most of their linebackers, and they return Sean Wade, who could be a top 10 pick. I don't know. He kind of seems more like a slot guy in the NFL. But yeah, and then like I said, Wisconsin just seems to win the West every year. And then I was surprised last year when they played Ohio State in Big Ten championship and they were up on them. I didn't think that was possible. But so yeah, that's pretty much our Big Ten preview, obviously. So the way we have it set up is that I will be doing the Big Ten and the ACC in the article that we posted, and you are going to do the SEC and the Big 12, Big 12 has a huge game this week. And there's also another game this week that we'll talk about that really is the game of the week. So with that being said, I think like I said, it'll be Ohio State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Minnesota in the Big Ten championship. But other than that, let's get into the rest of the Week 8 preview. Right now, Wisconsin's playing Illinois right now, so I haven't checked the score on that, but they decided to open up on a Friday. So, but the first one I have on here is number 18 Michigan at 21 Minnesota. I mean, Michigan. All right, do you have anything to say? Because I feel like I'm talking way too much.
What? I can't. You keep cutting. You're starting to cut out a little bit.
I just feel like I'm talking too much, but it is a Big Ten game, so I'll say it.
Yeah, it's a Big Ten game.
So yeah, I don't think Michigan's going to be as good. Their defense, coached by Don Brown, is always solid, but I mean, Joe Milton
There's
won
no
the
weapons on. There's no real
offense.
big
No,
weapons on that offense. So I
they
mean, as we've seen so far this year, it's like if you have a. I mean, Georgia's a perfect example. You know, a defense can only keep you in it as long as they want. And if that offense finds a way to move the ball, they might have the same success Georgia does. But when they go up against a team like Ohio State, that's just offensively too much of a powerhouse, it's just going to crumble. You can't always depend on that defense. That defense, after a few games, is like, well, what gives? Why is there no offense helping back us up? They get
yeah,
frustrated, and then they make mistakes. And that's
yeah.
how big air raid offenses like Ohio State this year could go, beat Michigan.
And it
Again,
seems like in college football, I know coaches will always tell you when you grow up, they'll always say defense wins championships. Well, in college football, really, offense does beat good defense, I think. I mean, it's just,
perfect example was what we saw Alabama versus Georgia.
yeah, I mean,
Georgia had a top 2 defense in the nation, and Alabama had the number 1 offense, and the offense just wore them down. I
yeah.
mean, simple as that. And with no offense backing Georgia, it was like it was a valiant effort on their part, but it wasn't going to give them the game.
Yeah, I guess also it's been a tumultuous kind of off season at Minnesota. I didn't really hear about it, but I guess they were viral going around Minnesota's campus after the George Floyd murder thing or shot thing. I don't know. So, and PJ Fleck has said this is more than football, but that's a guy who also tells you to row the boat. But yeah, Michigan does return Zach Charbonnet, who's a pretty good running back. He splits carries with Evans. I can't think of his first name. He doesn't split carries. It's probably 60-40. But yeah, I think Minnesota with returning Tanner Morgan, the quarterback, and probably a top 20 pick in the NFL draft, receiver Rashad Bateman. Now they lost Winfield Jr. in the Antoine Winfield Jr. in the draft, so their defense might be shaky. But I think the offense just. I expect a lot of these Big Ten games to be low scoring. Let me just say that. Unless you're like Ohio State and your offense is just that good, I just think it's hard to come on after not playing for so long and just get right at it. Like we see it all the time in the beginning of the NFL. We saw it in the beginning of this season when everyone else was playing already. So, but yeah, I mean, so I would take Minnesota. I think I'll give the predictions after, but yeah, and then so North Carolina hosts North Carolina State.
Huge rivalry game here.
I wouldn't say it's a huge rivalry game, but
well, for the guys there, it is.
Yeah, and it is, and well, it's not
it's like Kansas versus Kansas State. It's a rivalry game for them. For the rest of the nation, no one really cares. But for those guys on those teams, that's a big rivalry game.
In football, it is, but let's not downplay Carolina versus Duke basketball. Come on now.
No.
The greatest game I've ever played. But I mean, UNC's coming off a bad loss. But like I said, they're still 14th. I feel like they're gonna lose a game or two more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they can. They don't play Clemson, and I don't think they can stack up with Notre Dame. Either of these teams really, but NC State allows nearly 430 yards a game. And the North Carolina is somehow averaging 520 yards a game. I don't know how they do that because if you look at Sam Howell's and like their offense's numbers, they don't seem like they score a lot. But yeah, it's a good game. I think it's on at noon, so I mean I'll probably tune it in. But I mean I think North Carolina bounces back. But Devin Leary for North Carolina State is definitely a pretty good quarterback. So, but I think North Carolina will bounce back pretty nicely. And then I'll just be real quick at this. Nebraska at number 5, Ohio State. I mean, could you ask for a worse first game than Nebraska?
No. I think it's going to be a big tune-up game for Ohio State. I mean, if you're Ohio State here, you couldn't ask for a better matchup for them to get really find out the details and really test some things out as like a preseason game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we both think their offense will transition smoothly.
Oh,
And I mean, if Justin Fields is that good, I mean, he's that good. But yeah, it's a tough for Nebraska, even though there's no fans. It's just tough to travel to the Horseshoe at any time and beat an Ohio State team. So I think Ohio State wins pretty easily. But Nebraska's not just going to go away.
no, you know.
Their quarterback, Adrian Martinez, I don't know if you heard. I swear he's been there for like 5 years, 6 years.
It
Like,
sounds. I feel like I've heard that name for the last 5 or 6 years coming out of Nebraska.
yeah, he's like he's a really bit like he runs the ball more than anything. So, but yeah, it seems like he's been I don't know what I was gonna say. All right, and then I have Syracuse at Clemson strictly because
It's Clemson.
I know, but I want to see if they can topple their 73-7 win over or Georgia Tech last week. I don't know if they score 80, but I mean Syracuse is god awful, and
Oh yeah,
they're
I
one and
think this
four.
is. I think this is a game that we're really going to see a lot in the second half of is that backup quarterback for Clemson, and I think that's really going to show us what Clemson has to look forward to going in the next year. I mean, I said it a couple weeks ago. Clemson doesn't really have a big opponent going forward. Maybe Notre Dame, and that's really it. The way North Carolina has been playing, that game looks like it might be close for a quarter, and then
They don't play. They don't play
they
this year.
don't.
No.
Okay, then Notre Dame's the only team that could give up a somewhat of a good fight. But I mean, I think that's going to be the big thing to look for. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to go off in the first half against that team. But I think you're right. I think they will be able to crack their 73 points, especially if they are able to put in that backup quarterback.
We are going to have to eventually learn his name. It's DJ Ugalagi. I don't know. He's from California.
Yeah, it's
And
DJ. I know it's DJ, but I don't want to butcher that last name.
like Tua. I didn't like fully understand, like be able to say Tua's name until you like got drafted last year. I figured out how to learn his name, but yeah. So it should be good. I mean, we'll get into the Heisman, but it's going to come down at the end. I think with Lawrence and Etienne playing so well, I almost feel bad for Etienne because Trevor Lawrence is just going to take votes away from him.
Oh yeah, I mean that's very unfortunate. If he's a back on any other team in the country, I feel like he's already up there.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about it too. But I mean, I think that Mac Jones will take votes away from Najee Harris. So
yeah, unfortunately.
But yes, so now the Big 12, you can go ahead and get at it. I didn't even know this was like a top 25 game.
Yeah,
I guess because Oklahoma State didn't play last week, but yeah, go in.
Yeah, so we have number 17 Iowa State versus number 6 Oklahoma State, which could very well decide a big bowl game here for the Big 12 championship. I mean, either one of these teams, if Iowa State somehow pulls up the upset, it makes their push, beating a top 10 team in the country, makes their push for being in the Big 12 championship game. But with Oklahoma State, I think if they win, they solidify their role as the team that's going to have to go through for the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
But both of these teams have both been, rocky, to say the least. I mean, Iowa State's been able to find a very good balanced offense, but their defense is just, they've been able to stop the run, but the passing game has just been tearing them up in that secondary. Oklahoma State is I think the most underrated team in the country right now. No one's taking them seriously. And I understand they haven't played big opponents, but you can't poo-poo what they've, the numbers they put up both offensively and defensively.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The Cowboys defense leads the nation in yards per play and yards per game. It's the lowest in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
A Big 12 team actually plays defense?
Surprising. And well, you got to think about it. They've only played 3 games. They've only allowed 27 points total.
Yeah, I mean,
and I know, and we'll go into, everyone can say, oh, they're not playing these big teams, but that's still impressive. That's still really impressive in college football nowadays with all these high-powered offenses. And right now, their offense, Oklahoma State leads the Big 12 in rushing. which is attributing to their success because they're being able to change up the game plan weekly for these teams. And everyone's like, oh, they're just going to run the ball, and then they'll come out and throw the ball on you too because you're committed to the run. You're
Yeah.
stacking the box and leaving those corners out on islands, and you're like, they can handle themselves, but they're Oklahoma State's finding ways to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Chuba Hubbard I could see him gaining Heisman momentum throughout the rest of the year because, I mean, other than him, they have Tylan Wallace, who plays receiver, who's really good. But their quarterback, I think Zach Sanders, has been hurt, so they've been
Sanders,
going
yeah.
with
Yeah,
the
he's been hurt, but I mean, they're coming off a bye week, so he might be able to play a little bit more. But they've been kind of limiting his action and limiting his ability to throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if Oklahoma State doesn't run the table, and I'm starting to think more and more that they won't, and even if they do run the table, I still think as of right now, you would see two SEC teams make it or two Big Ten teams make the playoff over.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that goes to strength of schedule again. Again, they don't. I can pull up the schedule right now. They don't really play anyone that's like super big name, or they might have one matchup, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, yeah, what'll happen. I mean, I think they haven't played Oklahoma yet. They'll play Oklahoma and they'll lose in Bedlam.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they did. Yeah, they played Tulsa, West Virginia, Kansas, and now they play Iowa. They're really only two. I mean, they're going to be hard games for them. They still play both. They play four teams from Texas still. They play Texas, Texas Tech, TCU, and Baylor. But Oklahoma and Texas, I see, is their only two really big matchups left.
That's crazy that Texas is so big as 4 college teams, Division I teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, you think about that, they're just going to be – they play 2 of them in Texas and then 2 of them home. It's just crazy. But again, the Texas game is going to be really difficult for them, and so is the Oklahoma game. But other than that, I don't see TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, or even Kansas State putting up a big fight against them. Not if they keep up the way they've been playing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, those are 2 tough games, and like I said, but I feel like every week in the Big 12, like it's just kind of a crapshoot, kind of like the smaller conferences. Like I could see a world where Texas Tech or TCU beats Oklahoma State. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't predict it, but I mean,
it can happen. Anything can happen.
Absolutely.
I know the saying's any given Sunday, but any given Saturday.
Exactly. That's what we live for, especially after the Browns lost. I would also like to say that I've changed my favorite player from Baker Mayfield to Kyler Murray.
Wow.
Because he's
big shocker, everyone.
Because he's only like an inch taller than me. But yeah, so we kind of went over the Big 12.
Now we're going to get into the SEC here. The first big real match, I mean, it's not really a big matchup, but I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game, is Auburn at Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss was supposed to be a decent team this year, but just a 1-3 schedule. And, some of those losses have been really close, but they're just not – their defense is not really not really that great. But Auburn at 2-2 has been kind of the shocker this year. Everyone thought Bo Nix was going to be carrying that team, but he's really struggled, and they haven't been able to run anything. I mean, they had that game last week, and they just couldn't do anything with the ball, really, until later in the game. But
Auburn?
What?
You're talking about Auburn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss can obviously score. I mean, they put up 48 on Bama, but you can keep going.
I mean, the only thing that might be the saving grace for Auburn this week is that Ole Miss's defense is so terrible.
They're the worst.
But again, the flip side of that coin is, will they be able to score enough to keep up with Ole Miss? The Rebels offense has proven they can score against pretty much anyone. I mean, you just said it. They put up 41 points against Bama. So it's just like, but their defense is so bad.
They give up 580 yards a game.
I know. That's so
580. It is 580. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 580. I had that down. I was going to bring that up, but that's the only thing that I think is going to be this game for Auburn is do or die. It's like you either write off your season here if you lose this game, which is very possible, or you show something on your offense. Because your
Yeah.
defense isn't bad, but Ole Miss's offense is just too high powered, and you're not going to be able to stop them that long.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. Like we talked about, Ole Miss was able to score with Bama, and like we talked about earlier, offenses just seem to be better than defenses right now. And Auburn hasn't really. Auburn's got a decent defense, but their offense. I mean, Bo Nix. Bo Nix has been so bad so far. He has 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
But one thing I say for that is they haven't been able. They've put the weight on his shoulder and have not given him a run game to get behind. If teams know you're going to throw the ball, they're going to put 6 guys in the box, and they're going to dare you to run the ball on them. But since you're not, they're just going to put all corners and safeties out there, and you can't. You're seeing him stand in the pocket for such a long period of time that's allowing the defensive line to get to him or put him in a situation that he's going to make a terrible throw. I feel like Bo Nix is in a very poor situation at Auburn, and I think we said this last week. I feel like he needs to go somewhere else in order to succeed because I do not blame him for being put into the situation, but when you're trying to develop as a quarterback and you're just put into an offense where they're like, here's the ball, just throw it. No run game to support you. It's like teams know you're going to throw the ball, and there's only so much you can do and show against the defense to get yards.
Yeah, Bo Nix would be better off going to, it's like SMU or just another kind of air raid offense. I mean, he's a gunslinger, and they
Exactly.
in Auburn, basically their offense is kind of like the Ravens in the NFL. They run read options all the time, and Bo Nix just isn't that type of player. He needs to sit back in the pocket out of shotgun and throw it all over the field. But
Exactly.
like you said, I mean, if they, after losing to South Carolina and then coming to Ole Miss, I mean, they won't fire Gus Malzahn, I don't think, halfway through the year. But
he's gone after that last game. I guarantee you that last game, an hour after that last game, if they lose this game, he's gone. He's gone. They're like, we're getting rid of him. We're moving on.
He's not getting on the bus. He's like Lane Kiffin. He's not getting.
You can hitchhike your way back.
Yeah, that's Lane Kiffin's revenge from when Nick Saban didn't let him come. Now, Lane Kiffin coaches Ole Miss, and now he's going to send another coach packing. But I think I actually think Ole Miss will win. I mean,
we'll talk about it after this, but I also have Ole Miss winning. I just think their offense is, even though the Tigers' defense is not bad, I just think this Ole Miss offense is going to be too much for them. Next, we have the 4-0 Alabama versus Tennessee. And the only reason I have this game on here is because it's Bama. It's kind of a chalk game up for them. Again, will they, they're still – I feel like Tennessee's offense might be able to get stuff going against them early on, first quarter, maybe second quarter. But they're a defensive, because they really struggle against Georgia. I mean, they gave up 24 points in the first half. And I feel like Tennessee will be able to take advantage of that a little bit. I'm not saying a lot. I only have them scoring 17 points. And the most of those points are coming second half when they put in the third and fourth string guys.
Yeah,
but Alabama's Alabama. Their defense really stepped up last week against Georgia, and I think they'll use the momentum for that. But that offense is just rolling and going on all cylinders. You can't stop that offense.
I mean, I think we talked about it last week. Like, obviously, Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs were great last year at Alabama. I think Devonta Smith and Jalen Walther are better than both of them, are better suited to that offense where they are in slot more than anything, and they can just move around, catch screen passes. It reminds me a lot of high school teams that literally have an okay quarterback, but they just run
slants
and like you just get him the ball over the middle or get him the ball with some space and let him run.
Let them work. Yeah, exactly.
So
again, this game I don't have it being close at all. I mean, if we want to give our score predictions, I have them 56 to Tennessee 17. The only reason I think Tennessee gets any amount of points is either they come out and just kind of smack them in the mouth, but Bama's defense coming out just shuts them down in the second half. I mean, they did it to Georgia, and that offense just turns it up in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I'm gonna pull up our predictions. If you could go ahead and get started on the the game of the week, Cincinnati at SMU, that no one saw coming.
Yeah, I mean, SMU being 5-0 versus Cincinnati's 3-0. Cincinnati right now is ranked number 9 in the country, and SMU 16. And the only reason as Cincinnati is 3-0 is because they had one game postponed, and then they had a bye week. Correct, Justin?
Yes.
And that puts them in a very difficult. It's going to be their first game set tomorrow in 21 days. That's almost a full month of not playing a competitive football game.
Yeah,
And
I mean
that's
why,
just
do you know why they were? I mean, I guess it had to do with COVID, I guess, but
well, the game they postponed was due to COVID. I'm not sure about the other game because I tried to look into why they've only played 4 games, and I couldn't find any really information about it. But I guess they got canceled due to COVID reasons, but there wasn't it looked like they just took it off their schedule.
yeah,
So
I mean,
I don't know what that was about. But again, they would have been 4-0, but not playing a competitive game or even against someone else other than your teammate for 21 days. I mean, that's
yeah,
a long time. Like
and
even the guys in the NFL, they go 2 weeks and they're like completely different person.
yeah,
And
I mean,
I think that's going to prove to be too much. I mean, SMU has just been again firing on all cylinders. Their defense has been even though their defense has struggled, their offense has been trying to back their defense and give them something to get behind.
yeah, I mean, I mean, it's also tough for Cincinnati, like you said, coming off of like a big week. The only bigger like worst team you could play coming off that off week, which never mind, it's not really that because you had a lot of time to practice. I was gonna say the triple option, but I mean, like for Cincinnati to have to go to SMU for the first time in 21 days, like that is not the team you want to run into. Like
No,
they'll just throw all over you. And like I said, Shane Bichelli's had a heck of a year. I have him close in my Heisman candidacy, and they just click pretty much in every facet except their defense, obviously. But
yeah,
yeah, Cincinnati's kind of a question mark. I mean, their quarterback Desmond Ritter has passed for. I mean, it's hard to look at it because they've only played 3 games, but he's only passed for 590 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions.
yeah,
And their other offensive leaders aren't anything to write home about either. So I think they're going to get down early to SMU and
hmm
uh, maybe make it closer towards the end.
yeah,
But yeah, because SMU I don't think can run the ball, but I
no.
mean, so they won't
I
get.
think
Go ahead.
I think that proves to be the big thing. I mean, I think because of how bad SMU's defense is, that Cincinnati will be able to get something going, but not until later in the game. I think SMU will get up, and then Cincinnati's defense might be like, get the wear and tear out of their legs, all that rest, and kind of step up and try to make it a game for that offense. But then that offense, SMU's offense just runs away with it. I have SMU winning 45-38.
Yeah, I'm setting up our thing right now, but yeah, I think I have them winning 35-28. Like I said, they're just gonna outscore
Yeah,
Cincinnati, and I'm actually excited. It's like when do you ever get to see those guys play in prime time? Like I know
no,
the primetime game is supposed to be the Big Ten, Michigan at Minnesota, but I'm way more interested in this game. Well, not way more interested, but I'm like more interested in that. So, yeah. So we'll go through some of our predictions right now, and then we'll get into. I don't know if you have any, but best bets and locks. But yeah, we'll get into some of our predictions right now, and I will start out with the Big Ten. Obviously, I like Ohio State to beat Nebraska 52-17.
hmm
Uh, Michigan, Minnesota. Who did I pick? Michigan only. Their offense is just not good enough to me. I have them losing 31-17 to Minnesota. I'm not even going to mention the Syracuse Clemson game just because I don't want to jinx it. I want to see 100 points. But I
total
have.
or just by Clemson?
I went just by Clemson. Like my prediction for this game is Syracuse 10, which they'll score a field goal early on, and then in scrub time, they'll score in 63-10, Clemson. And
Okay.
then probably for the other biggest game I was covering for the week, North Carolina State at North Carolina. Like I said, I think North Carolina bounces back, and they beat rival NC State 38-24.
Right.
And you can head into your Big 12 predictions. You have them?
I just have the one matchup. I looked at the other games, and I mean, Kansas State's going to be a close game. I didn't do a score for that, but I feel like Kansas, because they've been able to kind of be somewhat consistent, even though inconsistency has been a big trend consistent wise for them. I feel like Kansas will be able to pull that one off. But the only game I did was the Oklahoma State Iowa State game. I have Oklahoma State winning that 35-28. I mean, I think they'll be able to. Oklahoma's just too much, which I think puts them on the over, doesn't it? Yeah. So I have them going over the 52. I don't think it's going to be an under game at all. I don't think Iowa State's going to score 28 points. That was more on the conservative side, but I think Oklahoma State's going to be able to get enough going on offense that's going to push them over the total 52 point mark. And then for
you think it's going to go over?
Yeah, I chose the over for the Oklahoma State because I just think Oklahoma State's team is going to get rolling to a point. For Alabama, the Alabama game, I have Alabama winning 56-17, which would put them also in the over, just because Alabama's offense is just going to keep rolling. And I think we could see another high scoring game for them where they get into the 60s potentially. And Tennessee again is going to score points, either as you said, a field goal early on, or even a touchdown in garbage time. So those are my only two bets for my best bets for the week.
Did you want to go over the Auburn Ole Miss?
Oh, the Auburn Ole Miss. I mean, I have Auburn winning. I have Ole Miss winning. 35 to Auburn 17. I just think that offense is going to be too much. And I went on the conservative side. I felt like once they get up, they're just going to try to kill clock to get out of that because they don't want to, potentially, have their quarterback throw another pick and put the pressure on Bo Nix because Bo Nix can't handle pressure right now. So going up and just running the ball out against that defense might be their best bet.
Yeah, that's good. I just I don't see that game going under at all. I think Ole Miss is going to put up points. Auburn will put up some points, but I like the over in that game, whatever it is, because
I don't know what the over is. That's why I didn't want to say over versus under. I just think I have them covering. I think the point spread for them was a touchdown or like 10 or 11 points. They were -10 or -11.
Auburn and Ole Miss?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I didn't look it up, but
I got it. I got it. Yeah. But yeah, I like those picks. Especially, like I said, I think Auburn Ole Miss is going to go over, and here I'll just read off my best bets of the week. Minnesota +3 at home, which is weird. SMU -2.5. Penn State.
Really?
Penn State is only favored
by 6?
By 6 at Indiana.
I take that. I would take that too. I mean that no offense to Indiana, but your basketball team's better fund your college more than your football team. Penn State wins that game by at least 2 touchdowns.
I saw that. I saw that. I mean, I went searching for news clippings of if something happened. I saw that. I'm jumping right on that. So, and then I had Iowa State, Oklahoma State under 52, Alabama and Tennessee won't like this one under 65. North Carolina State +15.5. Nebraska at Ohio State under 68. And then tonight's game, Illinois at Wisconsin, I like the under of 51.5. And then this is probably, I should make this one of my locks, but Auburn at Ole Miss, I got Ole Miss +4. I think I would take Ole Miss outright.
Oh yeah, no, I that's one of my going into our next segment, our locks for the week. That's one of my locks is Ole Miss the 4 -4.
Okay, well with that, let's head into our locks. I only have 2 this week, but you can go into yours first if you want to. Do you hear me?
I have my lock being that I'm going to add the Penn State game to my lock because I think that's the -6. I think they'll beat them by more than 2 touchdowns. So my locks for this week are the Penn State game and what was the one we just talked about? The
Cincinnati,
SMU.
SMU. Yeah,
Yeah, I take the lock at 2.5 on that. I don't think Cincinnati's going to get even close.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I also think Minnesota +3 is a steal. It's for me. It's hard to handicap these games, especially in the Big Ten. And like just over and unders. It just seems like something different happens every week. So
No, yeah, like we could have going back to last week, Alabama versus Georgia. It could have very well ended 24-20 as the final score. It could have gone that way, and it didn't. But they almost scored 100 points. It was 63 to or 60. It was 63 to like 48, wasn't it?
yeah, I think it. Yeah, topped 100 points. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, everyone's favorite segment this week.
Whoa, I didn't give my locks.
You gave your locks.
No, I didn't. Those are my best bets. These are my locks.
All right, what are your locks this week, Justin?
You're gonna like one of them. I like BYU is favored by 28.5 over Texas State. Texas State's 1-5. I think BYU covers at 28.5. And then the other lock I have Notre Dame at Pittsburgh over 42.5. I don't know what to think about Notre Dame after last week. But
I don't know why you chose the over here. I would have said under for that game.
Because it's so low. It's 42.5. I mean, that's really like 21-21. Like,
you think Notre Dame after last week is going to score 21 points?
I don't know. Yes.
I'm sorry, but I mean, those are two very defensive teams. We didn't get to talk about them a lot, but I think that's going to be a very low-scoring game.
Shut up. Were you about to get into trivia? Because we still got a couple things to go before we get into it.
No, I talk about the thing everyone loves. I know everyone's going to say, oh, we all love trivia, but nope. We're going into top 10s and our Heisman choices going into week 8, man.
I know ours are pretty similar, and I think everyone in the world is pretty similar, basically, except for like the fifth guy. I think ours are different. But like I said, obviously Trevor Lawrence is the front runner. Mm-hmm. I like Mac Jones as the second guy right now.
Oh, and before we go any further, me and Justin agreed to that we were just going to do it this week on people that have played. And we both have the same player to watch this week. He'll announce his first, so you'll know mine. But we tried to keep it on players who have played, because a lot of the people out there right now have our player to watch is like a top 3, which we both agree are probably going to be there. And our top 3 are probably going to be the same at 10 this year. But we wanted to keep it on people who played.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I did it for the top 10. No, yeah, I did it for top 10s too. It's the 1 week before the Big Ten comes back. You can't really judge anything. So, like I said, Mac Jones at 2, and then 3 and 4 is Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. Like I said, I think Lawrence and Jones are going to end up taking away Heisman votes from them just because it's basically a quarterback award now. Mm-hmm. And then obviously I have Shane Buechele at number 5. He'll probably drop out at some point unless they go with 5, but we'll see. And then I have one to watch in Justin Fields. So
yep. So again, my top 5 are very similar. I have Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones 1 and 2. And then again, Najee Harris and Travis Etienne at 3 and 4. Again, you're right. They're going to get, votes taken away from them due to their quarterbacks being so good this year. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a number 1 overall draft pick this year. If he decides to go to the draft, he doesn't have to. Was
that you who sent me that?
Yeah, that was me. We're talking about, I got kind of bamboozled this week. Someone had faked a quote from Trevor Lawrence saying the Jets have the number 1 overall pick, and no way in hell, quote, hell, he is going to go to the draft. And even, a more reputable quote that actually is real is Roddy White told him to stay in college, choose a year at Clemson over a year at a team that's is just going to have you be hit.
I don't disagree with that, but
I don't either. But you have a chance at number 1 overall pick. You want that money.
That's the thing. He's the number 1 pick if he comes out this year. He's the number 1 pick if he comes out next year. He's the number 1 pick if he comes out the next 5 years. He's the number 1 pick, unless he loses an arm, of course. But
Yeah. Or if he gets paralyzed, God forbid, we don't want that to happen. But that, like, short of that, it's gonna be like,
wow, that was like
what? I mean, you
that
said
was very
if you
sorrow and like, oh wow, I did not expect that. Okay,
and my number 5 is different from Justin. He has Shane Buechele as I have Shane Buechele just outside the top 5. I have him as my number 6, but I think Zack Wilson. I mean, again, strength of schedule has been kind of the detriment for him. But if he's on any other team and doing this, if he's even at Georgia doing this, or even Oklahoma, I think we're having a different conversation here. But what he's been able to do, he's been very prolific. His passer efficiency ratings like top 5 in the country still. And he's been able to do well with that BYU offense. I know you call them you say I give them too much favoritism, but
I
I
didn't
just
say
think
it. I was joking with you. God, learn my sarcasm.
I know you were being sarcastic. I'm just saying I think his performance has really proven to be, has shown he'll be able to play on Sundays come this draft season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's a senior or a junior, but if he's not a senior, you got to bet that Lincoln Riley is on the phone with BYU telling him to come to Oklahoma for his last
Oh,
year, and he can win
yeah.
a Heisman too. Just more
Exactly.
Heismans for Oklahoma.
Exactly.
Uh,
Now we go into our next segment. Before everyone's other favorite segment, trivia, we have our top 10s. Justin, do you want to start off with your top 10s here?
yeah, let me pull them up. I actually have yours and then mine here. I have Alabama at 1, Clemson at 2. I kind of switched them up
Okay.
after the big win last week. I have Oklahoma State as 3, Notre Dame at 4,
Mm-hmm.
Georgia at 5, with still probably a better chance to make the playoff than I would say Oklahoma State or Notre Dame.
Right.
6, Florida. They're still in it. And
Yeah.
then this is just my love for the smaller teams. I got 8, SMU, 9, Cincinnati, and then I missed one there, but then I had Miami, and then number 10, I had BYU.
Mm-hmm. My
Just, I
top
mean,
10.
we're only going to be able to do it once without the Big Ten, so
Yeah.
might as well give the little guys some love.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have Clemson at number 1, Bama at number 2. I mean, their impressive win last week against Georgia was huge, but I just think, scoring 73 points, and I know they weren't that good of a team, but still, that's still impressive. I still think this is going to be the national championship game, Clemson versus Alabama again this year, and it's just going to be.
Wasn't it last year?
No, I know. I said the year before.
Okay.
Clemson versus Alabama has been it's like seeing the Patriots in the Super Bowl every other year. Not this year, probably, but
Just
the
bring
years.
up, just start telling me you hate me and bring up all sad things in my life.
Hey, your Cleveland Browns are still 4-2.
Right? But my favorite player is not. He's doing well, but the team's not doing well.
Yeah. But again, those teams are going to meet. They're on a collision course for that game, and their offenses are going to go at it. It's going to be a test, but we'll talk about that later on once we get to that point. Number 3, I got Notre Dame. Georgia, I have dropping to number 4. I just think because it's Georgia that they're going to be more considered over. Again, the next 2 teams I have is Oklahoma State, BYU, and I just don't think their strength of schedule put them in a good conversation. I think everyone's going to say, why not these guys? And I think I think BYU gets in, it's going to be a better matchup than Georgia going up against Bama again. Or even actually more over Notre Dame. I think you could flop those 2, Oklahoma State and Notre Dame, just because Oklahoma State's shown more. I mean, and after last week's poor performance by Notre Dame, only winning by 5 points and only scoring 12, is just really speaks to their team that an underlying problem that's there. My number 6 is Texas A&M. They're still in the hunt for it. Number 7, I got Cincinnati. Number 9, I got Florida, who's still very much alive in it. They dropped down low due to them not having played a game. And then Miami is my number 10 because I still think they're in a hunt for it, but they're probably that's the highest I think they will finish.
Yeah, I mean, yours is probably more realistic. Like, if it were the end of the season, I would definitely say Georgia has a better chance to make the playoffs. But, yeah, and speaking of that, we'll go into our playoff predictions right now. You can go ahead and start off. I mean, ours should be
Yeah, I mean, the only one that's different for me is we flip-flopped Notre Dame and Oklahoma State. I have Notre Dame in the top 3 team just because of because it's Notre Dame. Everyone loves the Fighting Irish. Even if you hate them, you
But
still love them.
everyone's sick of the Fighting Irish, though. They get
Well,
crushed.
again, we're not on the committee, and for the committee, it's all about the money. So I think Notre Dame sells more tickets than, say, an Oklahoma State matchup versus a top 4 team. But my top 4 is Clemson, Bama, Notre Dame, and Georgia. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that.
Yeah, mine is Alabama, Clemson, which is good right now because they won't play each other in the semifinal. They could end up meeting in the championship. But yeah, I have Alabama at 1, Clemson at 2, Oklahoma State at 3, and Georgia at 4. So, I mean, we're pretty similar. I mean, it's far enough into the season that you can kind of guess these things. But I mean, it's also far enough that Alabama and Clemson are going to be there, and Georgia's going to stick around. So,
right.
And before we get to our new segment, gold, silver, and bronze, I just wanted to bring up a smaller conference game to watch. I put Georgia Southern at Coastal Carolina, and I took the under at 51.5. Georgia Southern just runs and runs and runs, so they'll be able to milk the clock. And I saw Coastal Carolina play last weekend, and they kind of run like a shotgun version of the triple option, so it should be a low-scoring game. But other than that, we'll head into our. We're not going to do the debate today. We'll do gold, silver, and bronze, and then trivia. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to explain to the folks at home?
Yeah. This segment is basically a snake draft of our top 3 college football stadiums. So call it in the air.
Heads.
All right, I go first.
Okay.
I said that my number 1 place that I want to visit definitely is LSU in Death Valley, not Clemson's fake Death Valley, or Death Valley 2, as I quote it.
Okay. My number 1 is I want to go to Death Valley. I want to go in Clemson and just see that stadium. You can't, like, when that stadium's at full capacity, it is a madhouse. My number 2 is actually the whiteout Beaver Stadium, Penn State. Yeah. That is my number 2 choice.
Yeah, I would be really cool to be at a whiteout game. It sucks that it's not happening. It sucks that it's not happening this year. But it is almost kind of amazing to me that they've been able to pull that off as a student section, and like all the fans were white. It's crazy there. I mean,
exactly. I mean, it's impressive. It's just it would be something you see it on TV, and you're just like, why? How are all these people wearing white?
Yeah, exactly. For my number 2, Husky Stadium. It's where Washington plays. It's really sweet. It's when I was flying back from Alaska, I stopped and saw it, and it's just right on. Basically, they do sailgating. They tailgate on the boats right by the stadium, and it's a beautiful scene. And I mean, it's somewhere in the country that I probably won't ever. I don't know ever, but I'm never going to visit the West Coast, but I don't know. But it is really cool. And then my third one is I like Badger Stadium at Wisconsin. I would kill to be part of Jump Around.
I feel that. My number 3 is good old Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Go to Michigan. Did this to piss me off.
No. Like I would love to go to Ohio State and see that game, but I have to choose Michigan just because of that stadium capacity and seeing that many people. They have the second most the highest capacity stadium for college football.
I think it's the number 1 highest.
Yeah. I was talking all sports like NFL and everything. But yeah, I think it's number 1, and I just want to see that many people. That stadium filled to like. I know we've been talking about this on a personal note of me coming down and maybe going to the Ohio State-Michigan game in Ohio State, but I think an even bigger game would be seeing Ann Arbor filled for that Michigan versus Ohio State game. Like, I know you're an Ohio State fan, and No, exactly. I just think, and even though it's in Michigan, I think seeing that many people would be crazy. That's the only reason I have Michigan as my number 3.
What was number 2?
Beaver Stadium, the whiteout. Number
Okay.
one was Death Valley,
Yeah, yeah, I
Clemson.
forgot. Yeah. Actually, honestly, I've only been to 2 Ohio State games. It kind of sucks. Like, unless you're in the student section,
Oh
like
yeah,
they
I bet.
and you're not trying to spend like $300, $400, or you're not like a donor. Um, they put you behind like cement walls. It's really not that cool. But okay, so after that, we are now headed into everyone's real favorite segment. Jacob has some ground to make up, but
Yeah, I do. But I think I'll make it up this week. Do you want to start off, Justin, or do you want me to start?
I'll start and then I'll go one. You go one, same thing like that. All
Okay.
right, all right. Alabama and Tennessee are playing this weekend. What do the winners of this matchup always do after the game on the field?
Oh, I remember reading an article on this. Do you want me to just type my answer, or do you want me to say it out loud?
You get one answer to say out loud.
Oh, I would say they play their
No,
song. No,
no.
okay.
Here, I'll tell you. You can go ahead with yours.
So my question, it kind of had to do with our segment on Tuesday, like award wise. Who are the only 2 defensive players to win the Walter Camp Award? And I'll give you a total of one's most recently, but another one is way early on. That's the only hint I'm going to give you.
Had to be like a linebacker. Was the most recent one Scooby Wright?
Nope.
And then is the other one? Was it one of the Bosa brothers?
Nope.
All right, just write it down.
I have one more guess. I gave you 3 because I gave you an extra one. So if you didn't get one, so you get one more guess if you want to guess the half of credit.
No, not Khalil Mack. Was it Von Miller? No.
No. I'm texting in the chat to you.
All right.
If you want to ask your second question.
This is gonna make me angry.
It will make you angry.
Who's the second one?
Oh, it typed wrong.
Cool. I don't even know who that is.
Hey, well, I mean, I had to give you a hard one.
Teo, yeah, I should have guessed that. All right. Name 3 of the 5 college coaches with the most Division I wins.
Just overall college?
Division I.
Division I. Oh, well, Saban's going to be on that list.
No, he's not.
Really?
All time? No.
No?
You get 4 guesses. So Nick Saban, no.
I don't know any of the other ones. I just recently started college football, so I couldn't name any other college football coaches.
All right, I'll type it in for you, but I'll type you all 5. But
okay.
You can go ahead and get into yours.
What was the biggest upset in BCS Bowl history? It was in the last 10 years. I'll give you that hint.
Boise State, Oklahoma.
Nope. BCS Bowl history.
Biggest upset?
Yep. I'm surprised if you don't get this one.
What's the question again?
What was the biggest upset in BCS Bowl history?
Like the championship?
Yeah.
It was when LSU demolished Ohio State.
Nope.
All right, just type it in for me then. I don't know. That's a good one. All right, so I'll get into mine. Last one. It's funny. Name 2 of the last 3 Nagerski Award winners.
Nagerski? Oh, that was the. I don't know those either. I don't know those. I just don't. Anything that comes to awards, I just. Nagerski. Wait, that was lineman, correct? Didn't we talk about that? I think so. Maybe not.
It's like a front seven award.
Oh, the last 3 years?
Yeah, like defensive ends or linebackers. 2 of the
Oh,
last 3 years.
Chase Young
Yes.
and both Bosa brothers.
No.
Was one of them at least on there?
No.
No. Do I get another guess or?
Yeah.
So Chase Young, front seven. I'm trying to think. Oh,
So
Christian Wilkins?
No.
All right.
I'll type that for you. All right. I just typed you in that one, and then here I'll tell you those answers afterwards. So did we
Okay.
get any of them right?
I thought, didn't I get one of them? I said Chase Young. You said last 3 years.
Okay. All right.
So I got one. I got 1 out of 3 for that one, but I didn't get either of the other ones, and you didn't get them either. Well, I still have one more question.
I thought you did.
Yeah. Which quarterback has highest passer rating, passer efficiency rating in a single season during the BCS era?
So like the single game best passer rating.
No, the single season. Which quarterback has the highest passer efficiency rating in a single season during the BCS era? You're gonna hate yourself when if you don't get this, you're gonna hate yourself for not knowing this.
Is it Tua?
Nope. You get one more. You get one more. I gave you guesses for this one.
It can't be Dwayne Haskins?
Nope. I typed it in the chat. You're gonna hate yourself for not knowing that one, but
that's cheap. That's cheap.
Why is that cheap?
Because you never really think of him like that. Whatever. Okay. Well, like I said, I'll type in we'll talk afterwards. But overall, we kept it close to an hour tonight. For me, I know it's probably like still sunny for you, but
no, it's dark now. It's not summer anymore.
Yeah, so just make sure you follow us on Twitter at PiccutoJacob, and then
and for everyone, it's like prosciutto, so it's PICCUITO, and then Jacob.
And then mine is BROWNLOJCLE. And then make sure you follow the podcast Twitter as well, because we'll be posting like highlights and stuff tomorrow during the games. That is at the number 4 and long pod on Twitter. So make sure you follow that. And some other good news is Hans, who's the producer for us, should be working on an intro for us this weekend. That's what he said, but you never know. He might get stuck having a real job.
Actual job.
Yeah, what a loser. And then so we should have a intro soon, then hopefully a logo soon. So like I said, we kept it good today. Make sure you check out the college football preview on backsportspage.com. And welcome back to Big Ten. And I'm sure we'll be going back and forth all day tomorrow on the games, even though I think they're spread out enough that like there's a good noon game, there's a good 3:30 game, and there's night games. So you got anything else, man?
No, we hope you all, everyone listening, can tune in on Tuesday to listen to our recap of the week and to see what the news is going into next week.
We also might have a guest on Tuesday, former Toledo Rocket receiver. We might have him, or we might have him next week. But just make sure you tune in, and it's been a good show. That's it. Good night, everyone. Have a lovely life. Oh yeah.
Sorry, one last thing. If you guys missed our podcast or missed any part of our podcast, you can go listen on Spotify or watch the video on YouTube.
And it's on my Facebook. Next time, remind me, and I can add yours too. So, All right, everyone. Good luck to the Big Ten. Ohio State for King, and everyone later.
Horns
down.
Peace, everyone.